Elara Voss stood in the grand foyer of the Hawthorne estate, her fingers tracing the delicate lace of her wedding gown. The fabric shimmered like moonlight on water, every stitch a promise of the life she had dreamed of since childhood. Tomorrow she would marry Julian Hawthorne, the man who had swept into her quiet world like a storm of charm and certainty. His smile had unraveled her defenses. His whispered vows had painted a future so vivid she could taste it. She had given him everything: her heart, her trust, the small fortune her parents had left her when they died in that car crash 5 years ago. She had believed his promises the way drowning men clutch at driftwood. But tonight, something felt wrong. The house was too quiet. The staff had been dismissed early, the guests sent home with polite excuses about final preparations. Julian had kissed her forehead and told her to rest, that he had a surprise planned for the morning. His eyes had lingered on her, a second too long, the way a man studies a painting he's already decided to sell. Elara had laughed it off, blamed wedding nerves. She had climbed the marble staircase to her suite, the train of her gown whispering secrets against the steps. She couldn't sleep. At 2:17 a.m., she slipped from her bed, barefoot, the silk of her nightgown cool against her skin. The hallway stretched before her like a tunnel of shadows, the portraits of Julian's ancestors watching with painted disapproval. She told herself she was being ridiculous. She told herself she trusted him. She told herself a lot of things as she padded toward the West Wing, the part of the house Julian had always kept locked. The door was ajar, a sliver of light spilled onto the carpet, golden and treacherous. Elara's heart hammered against her ribs. She should turn back. She should crawl into bed and pretend she'd never seen this. Instead, she pushed the door open. The room was an office, all dark wood and leather-bound books. Julian sat at the desk, his back to her, phone pressed to his ear. Across from him, perched on the edge of a chair like a queen on a throne, was Vivian Hawthorne, Julian's mother. The woman who had smiled at Elara during dress fittings, who had called her "my dear girl" while measuring her for alterations. The woman whose eyes had never quite met Elara's own. "The accounts are clean," Julian was saying, voice low and businesslike. "Once the ceremony's done, the trust transfers automatically." She signed the prenup without reading it, thought it was just formality. Vivian's laugh was soft, satisfied. Of course she did. Poor little orphan. She's been starving for family so long she'd sign her soul away for a kind word. Elara's blood turned to ice. Julian leaned back, fingers drumming on the desk. "The offshore accounts are ready. We'll drain the principal within 48 hours. By the time she realizes, we'll be untouchable. The house, the investments, the vineyard, everything. She'll be left with the dress on her back and a husband who never loved her." Vivian reached across the desk, her manicured nails grazing Julian's knuckles. "You played your part beautifully, darling. All those late nights working. The flowers, the poetry." She lapped it up like cream. Elara's knees buckled. She caught the doorframe to keep from falling. The sound was small, but it was enough. Julian's head snapped around. His eyes widened, then narrowed. Elara. She couldn't move, couldn't breathe. The world tilted, the floor rushing up to meet her. Vivian rose slowly, smoothing her skirt. "Well, this is awkward." Julian stood, palms raised in that placating gesture she used to find comforting. "Sweetheart, it's not what you think." "Don't," Elara whispered. Her voice sounded foreign, thin. "Don't you dare." Vivian's smile was razor sharp. "Oh, darling, It's exactly what you think. You were always just a means to an end, a very profitable end. Elara backed away, her spine hitting the wall. The portraits stared down at her, generations of Hawthorns who had built their empire on cunning and ruin. She was just the latest sacrifice. Julian took a step toward her. Elara, listen. She turned and ran. The hallway blurred, her bare feet slapping against cold marble. She didn't stop until she reached her suite, slamming the door and locking it with shaking hands. Her reflection in the mirror was a stranger, eyes wild, lips bloodless. The wedding gown hung on its dress form like a ghost, mocking her. She sank to the floor, pressing her face into her knees. The tears came hard and silent, the kind that tear you apart from the inside. Every memory flashed behind her eyes. Julian's hand on her cheek the night he proposed, the way he'd traced her parents' initials on the locket she never took off. The promises he'd made under starlight. Lies, all of it. But beneath the grief, something else stirred, something cold and sharp and ancient. Anger. She had given them everything, her love, her future, her inheritance. And they had smiled while planning to strip her bare. Elara lifted her head. The tears had stopped. In their place was a clarity so fierce it burned. They wanted her money. They wanted her humiliation. They wanted her to disappear quietly, a footnote in the Hawthorne legacy. They had no idea who they were dealing with. She rose slowly, walking to the window. Dawn was hours away, the estate shrouded in darkness. Somewhere below, Julian and Vivian were probably congratulating themselves on their cleverness. They thought they had won. They were wrong. Elara opened the bottom drawer of her vanity and pulled out the leather-bound journal her mother had given her on her 16th birthday. Inside were pages of dreams, sketches, half-written poems. She flipped to a blank page and began to write. Step 1. Play the part. She would smile tomorrow. She would walk down the aisle radiant and trusting. She would let them believe they had her exactly where they wanted her. Step 2. Gather the weapons. She had spent years learning the Hawthorne empire from the inside. Every account number, every shell company, every dirty secret Julian thought he'd hidden. She had access codes, signatures, recorded conversations. She had been preparing for a life with him. Now she would use it to destroy him. Step 3. Strike when they least expect it. Not during the vows, not during the reception, but in the moment they thought they were safest. When the champagne was flowing and the cameras were flashing and the world was watching. Elara closed the journal. Her hands were steady now. She walked to the wedding gown and touched the lace. Tomorrow, she would wear it like armor. Julian and Vivian had taught her a valuable lesson. Love was a liability. Trust was a weakness. But betrayal was a blade, and she intended to wield it with exquisite precision. The Hawthorne estate slept on, unaware that its newest bride was no longer a victim. She was a reckoning. And tomorrow, on what was supposed to be the happiest day of her life, Elara Voss would make sure it became the day the Hawthorne empire began to burn. She returned to bed, but sleep was unnecessary. Her mind raced with plans, each more devastating than the last. By the time the first light crept through the curtains, she had mapped every move, every contingency. At 7 a.m., the stylist arrived. Elara greeted her with a serene smile, the picture of bridal bliss. The woman chattered about weather and flowers while pinning curls and applying makeup. Elara nodded in all the right places, her reflection flawless. Inside, she was steel. Julian knocked at 8:30, his voice muffled through the door. "Ready, love?" "Almost," she called back, her tone light. "Give me 10 minutes." She slipped into the gown, the weight of it grounding her. The mirror showed a bride, beautiful, innocent, breakable, perfect, was waiting in the hallway, resplendent in champagne silk. Her eyes flicked over Elara with predatory satisfaction. "You look lovely, dear. Julian's a lucky man." Elara met her gaze, letting a flicker of vulnerability show. "Just enough. I hope I make him happy." Vivian's smile widened. "Oh, you will, for a little while." The ceremony was held in the rose garden. 300 guests beneath a canopy of white blooms. Elara walked the aisle on the arm of Julian's uncle, her veil fluttering like surrender. Julian stood at the altar, devastating in his tuxedo, eyes shining with what the world would call love. The officiant began. Vows were exchanged. Rings slipped onto fingers. Elara's voice never wavered. "I, Elara, take you, Julian." She meant every word. Just not the way he thought. The pronouncement came. "You may kiss the bride." Julian lifted her veil, his lips brushing hers. The crowd applauded. Cameras flashed. And in that moment, with the world watching, Elara leaned in and whispered against his ear, "Check your phone." His smile faltered. She stepped back, radiant, as he fumbled for his pocket. The screen lit up with a single text from an unknown number. "Transfer initiated. All accounts frozen. Enjoy the honeymoon." Julian's face drained of color. Around them, guests murmured in confusion as their own phones began to buzz. Emails, notifications, headlines breaking in real time. Hawthorne heir accused of fraud in shocking wedding exposé. Vivian's champagne flute slipped from her fingers, shattering on the stone path. Elara turned to the crowd, her voice carrying like a bell. "Ladies and gentlemen, I'm afraid there's been a change of plans." She reached into the bouquet, white roses hiding a small remote, and pressed a button. Every screen in the garden lit up. Bank statements, emails, audio clips of Julian and Vivian plotting her ruin. A video of Julian laughing about her parents' death, calling it convenient timing. The garden erupted into chaos. Guests scrambled for exits. Reporters who had been invited for society pages now scrambled for quotes. Security, hired by Elara, not the Hawthorns, moved in to contain the scene. Julian lunged for her. "You bitch." She sidestepped gracefully, her gown swirling. "Careful, darling. Assault on your wedding day?" The headlines write themselves. Vivian was screaming, clawing at a security guard. "This is impossible. She doesn't have access." "Oh, but I do," Elara said calmly. "Every password, every offshore account, every shell company you thought was hidden. I've been watching you for months, learning, planning." She pulled a slim drive from her garter, elegant, deadly. This is just the beginning. The authorities will find the rest. Embezzlement, tax evasion, insurance fraud tied to my parents' accident. Yes, I know about that too." Julian's knees buckled. "Elara, please." She crouched beside him, her voice soft enough for only him to hear. "You taught me love was a transaction. Consider this my final payment." She stood, addressing the cameras now live streaming the meltdown. "Let this be a lesson. Never underestimate a woman who has nothing left to lose." Security escorted Julian and Vivian away in handcuffs. Real ones, courtesy of the FBI agents waiting in the wings. The empire they had schemed to steal was already being dismantled, asset by asset, transferred to a trust in Elara's name alone. The guests were gone within minutes. The garden stood empty, petals crushed underfoot, champagne soaking into the grass. Elara stood alone among the ruins of her almost wedding, the veil torn from her hair, the gown streaked with dirt and triumph. She had lost a future, but she had gained something far more valuable: revenge. And the Hawthorne estate, the accounts, the vineyard, everything they had planned to take from her, was now hers to burn or rebuild as she saw fit. She walked back into the house, the train of her gown trailing behind her like a bloodied banner. The staff, now on her payroll, awaited instructions. "Open the West Wing," she said. "I want every file, every ledger, every secret. Then call the contractors. We're redecorating." She paused at the foot of the grand staircase, looking up at the portraits of the Hawthorne ancestors. One by one, she would have them taken down. The walls would be bare for now. Elara Voss stood in the echoing silence of the Hawthorne library, the scent of old leather and betrayal thick in the air. Moonlight filtered through the tall windows, casting silver bars across the Persian rug where Julian had once knelt to propose. The ring on her finger, his grandmother's supposedly, felt like a shackle now, cold and heavy. She twisted it off and dropped it into a crystal bowl on the desk. The clink echoed like a gunshot. Footsteps approached. Soft, deliberate. Not the panicked scramble of staff or the heavy tread of security. Someone who belonged here. Vivian, the older woman, appeared in the doorway, no longer the polished matriarch from the garden. Her champagne silk was torn at the hem, mascara streaking her cheeks like war paint. Her eyes were wild, but beneath the panic burned something feral. "You think you've won," Vivian hissed. "You think this little stunt ends it." Elara didn't flinch. She leaned against the desk, arms crossed, the wedding gown still on, now a battle uniform. "I'm not done, Vivian. I'm just getting started." Vivian stepped into the room, closing the door behind her with a soft click. "You have no idea what you've unleashed. The Hawthorns don't fall. We adapt, we survive, and we destroy anyone who tries to take what's ours." Elara's laugh was low, dangerous. "Yours? Let's talk about what's yours." She picked up a thick folder from the desk, one of many she'd spent the night organizing, and let it fall open. Pages spilled across the wood. Bank transfers, forged signatures, emails between Vivian and a man named Victor Lang. Your lover, your partner, in every crime Julian thought was his idea. "You've been siphoning funds since before I was born." Vivian's face paled, but she didn't deny it. "Careful, girl. Some secrets cut both ways." "Oh, I know." Elara pulled out a photograph, grainy, taken from a security camera. Vivian and Victor, in a hotel lobby, his hand on her thigh. Another showed them meeting with the mechanic who'd serviced her parents' car the week before the crash. "You didn't just want my money. You needed me gone. Permanently." But Julian was sloppy. He fell for the wrong girl. Vivian's lips curled. "He fell for a mark. Nothing more." "Then why does he keep calling me from the holding cell?" Elara tilted her head, begging, crying, saying he loves me, that it was all you. For the first time, Vivian faltered. "He's weak. Always was. Useful, though." Elara circled the desk, picking up a small recorder. She pressed play. Julian's voice, trembling. "Mom, tell me you have a plan. Tell me we can fix this. I can't go to prison." "I can't." Stumbling, Elara said quietly, "You taught me pain is a tool. I learned well." She released Vivian, who cradled her wrist, eyes blazing. "What do you want?" "Everything." Elara gestured to the room. "The house, the vineyard, the company. But more than that, I want you to feel what it's like to lose it all. Piece by piece." Vivian straightened, smoothing her hair with trembling fingers. "You're not capable of that. Watch me." Elara walked to the fireplace and pressed a hidden panel. A section of the wall slid open, revealing a safe. She entered the code, Julian's birthday, how predictable, and pulled out a velvet box. Inside, a necklace, sapphires and diamonds, worth millions. Vivian's eyes widened. That was supposed to be mine, she whispered. It was your mother's, Elara corrected. Stolen from her estate after she died. Just like everything else. She dangled the necklace. I'm selling it. Proceeds to a foundation for orphaned heirs. How poetic. Vivian's composure cracked. You can't. I can, and I will. Elara slipped the necklace into her pocket. But first, a gift for you. She opened a drawer and pulled out a plane ticket. One way, to a small island in the Pacific. No extradition treaty. You're leaving tonight, Elara said. A car's waiting. You'll be on a private flight before dawn. If you ever set foot on this continent again, the evidence I have goes public. Every affair, every fraud, every murder. Vivian stared at the ticket like it was poison. And if I refuse? Elara smiled. Then you join Julian in a cell. Your choice. Silence stretched between them, thick and electric. Finally, Vivian took the ticket. Her hand shook. You'll regret this, she said. I already regret ever trusting you. Elara opened the door. 2 security guards waited. Escort Mrs. Hawthorne to the car. Make sure she boards. Vivian walked past her, head high, but Elara saw the defeat in her eyes. The matriarch was gone. In her place, a woman stripped bare. The door closed. Elara exhaled. But the night wasn't over. She returned to the desk and opened her laptop. A video call blinked. Victor Lang. She accepted. His face filled the screen, tanned and smug. Mrs. Hawthorne, congratulations on your nuptials, though I hear they were eventful. Cut the crap, Victor. Elara leaned forward. I know everything. The crash, the insurance payout, the accounts you've been skimming for 30 years. Victor's smile didn't waver. And yet here I am, free, untouchable. For now. Elara typed rapidly. Check your balance. Victor's eyes flicked to another screen. His expression shifted. Confusion, then panic. What did you do? Transferred every cent to a charity for crash victims. Your name's on the dedication plaque. She leaned back. You have 2 hours to disappear. After that, Interpol gets the file. Victor lunged toward the camera. You little... The call ended. Elara closed the laptop. Her hands were steady, but her heart raced. She was dismantling an empire brick by brick, and it felt good. A soft knock. One of the staff, Mara, the housekeeper who'd been with the family for decades. Miss Elara, there's someone at the gate. Says it's urgent. Elara frowned. Who? She says her name is Leela. Elara Voss. Elara froze. Voss, her mother's maiden name. She hadn't heard it spoken aloud in years. Send her in. Minutes later, a woman entered the library. Mid-30s, dark hair, eyes the same shade of green as Elara's. She carried a small wooden box. You're Elara, the woman said. Not a question. Who are you? Leela set the box on the desk. Your aunt, your mother's sister. I've been looking for you for years. Elara stared. My mother was an only child. That's what they told you. Leela opened the box. Inside, photographs, letters. A birth certificate. She ran from the family, from the money, from the secrets. She wanted a normal life, but they never let her go. Elara picked up a photo, her mother, young, smiling, standing next to a woman who looked just like Lila. Her hands trembled. Why now? She asked. Because you just burned the Hawthorne Empire to the ground, Lila said. And the Voss family? We've been waiting for someone to do it for decades. Elara looked up. What are you saying? Lila smiled, sharp, knowing. The money you think was your parents' inheritance, it was never theirs. It was ours. Stolen by the Hawthornes in a hostile takeover 30 years ago. Your mother tried to get it back. They killed her for it. Elara's world tilted again. You're lying. Am I? Lila pulled out a document, old, yellowed, a contract, signatures, her mother's name. They framed the crash as an accident, paid off the police, buried the truth. But we never forgot. Elara sank into the chair. The gown felt suffocating now. Exhausted. Let them. Lila studied her. You're not afraid? I'm done being afraid. Lila nodded, something like respect in her eyes. Then welcome to the family, Elara Voss, the real one. She left as quietly as she'd come. The box remained on the desk. Elara opened it again. More photos, more letters, a key, small brass engraved with a crest she didn't recognize. She stood and walked to the window. Dawn was breaking, painting the sky in blood and gold. The garden below was a ruin, petals trampled, chairs overturned. But beyond it, the vineyard stretched for miles, rows of grapes heavy with promise. Hers now, all of it. But the victory felt hollow. She had destroyed the hawthorns, yes, but in doing so, she'd uncovered a deeper betrayal, one that spanned generations, one that had cost her everything. She picked up the key. It was warm in her palm. Somewhere in this house, a door waited. And behind it, the truth she wasn't sure she wanted. But she would find it. She always did. Elara Voss descended the hidden staircase behind the library panel, the brass key cold against her palm. Each step echoed like a heartbeat in the narrow passage, the air growing cooler, damper, laced with the scent of earth and forgotten things. The wedding gown dragged behind her, lace snagging on stone, but she didn't care. The dress was a corpse now, beautiful, ruined, and hers to bury. The key fit the lock at the bottom with a soft click. A door swung inward on silent hinges. The room beyond was not a room at all. It was a vault. Walls of steel and glass, climate-controlled, lit by soft amber bulbs. Rows of shelves stretched into shadow, holding ledgers bound in red leather. Boxes of documents, hard drives sealed in plastic. At the center stood a pedestal, and on it a single file labeled in her mother's handwriting. For Elara, if you ever find this. Her breath caught. She crossed the floor, heels clicking, and opened the file. Pages upon pages. Bank records, emails, photos. A timeline of the Hawthorne-Voss War dating back 40 years. Her mother's notes in the margins. Angry, precise, heartbroken. A letter clipped to the front. My darling girl. If you're reading this, they've taken everything from you too. I'm sorry. I tried to protect you. I failed. But you're stronger than I ever was. Use this. Burn them. Then walk away. Love always. Mom. Elara's eyes burned. She turned the page. The first document was a marriage certificate. Her parents, yes. But beneath it, another. Her mother to a man named Elara Voss. Not her father. A different name. A different life. It had been a cleanup. Elara's hands shook as she lifted a flash drive from the file, labeled Insurance. She walked to the console on the wall, inserted the drive. A video began to play. Her mother, younger, sitting in this very room, eyes red from crying. They're coming for us, Elara. Julian's only a baby, but Vivian's already planning. She wants it all. The vineyard, the trusts, the name. I've hidden everything here. If they hurt us, use it. Expose them. But be careful. They'll kill to keep this quiet. The video ended. Elara stood frozen. The vault spun around her. Footsteps above. Multiple. Heavy. She killed the lights, pressed herself into the shadows. The door at the top of the stairs creaked open. Voices. Nail. Urgent. She's down here. The aunt confirmed it. Find the drive, burn the rest. Elara's pulse thundered. She scanned the vault. No other exit. But there, behind a shelf, a small grate, ventilation, big enough. She kicked off her heels, hiked up the ruined gown, and crawled inside. The metal was cold against her skin, the passage narrow. She inched forward, heart in her throat. Behind her the vault door slammed open. Flashlights swept the room. She was here. Look, the file's open. Fan out, she can't have gone far. Elara kept moving. The duct twisted, then dropped. She slid, landing hard in a laundry room. Staff quarters. Empty. She ran. Through corridors, past kitchens, out a side door into the night. The estate grounds were alive with searchlights, dogs barking in the distance. She ducked into the vineyard, rows of vines cloaking her like soldiers. Her phone buzzed. Lila. They're not Hawthorns. They're Voss enforcers. My brother's men. They want the vault. Run. Elara typed back. Too late. I have it. Then use it. Now. Elara crouched between the vines. Opened the file on her phone. She'd synced it. Dozens of documents. Audio. Video. Enough to destroy 2 families. She hesitated. This wasn't just revenge anymore. This was annihilation. But they'd taken her parents, her name, her life. She pressed send. Every major news outlet, every regulatory agency, every social platform. The files flooded the internet like a virus. Headlines exploded within minutes. Voss family implicated in 40-year fraud and murder cover-up. Hawthorne heiress exposes generations of crime on wedding day. Billions in assets frozen. FBI raids multiple properties. Elara watched from the shadows as chaos erupted. Sirens wailed. Helicopters thumped overhead. The estate gates crashed open. She slipped deeper into the vineyard, gown torn to shreds, feet bleeding, but alive, and free. By dawn, the Hawthorne name was poison. The Voss name was legend. Elara reached the edge of the property, an old stone wall, moss-covered. Beyond it, a car idled. Lila leaned against the hood, smoking. You came, Elara said. I said welcome to the family. Lila opened the passenger door. Get in. We have work to do. Elara slid inside. The gown fell away in tatters. Beneath it, she wore black leggings and a tank. She'd changed in the duct. Prepared. Where are we going? She asked. First, a shower. Then, the board meeting. You own 51% of Voss Global now. Time to clean house. Elara looked back at the estate, flames licking the east wing where the vault had been torched. The empire was ash. Good. The air smelled of smoke and grapes. Let's go, she said. The car sped into the sunrise, leaving the Hawthorne estate, and the girl who'd once believed in love behind forever. But the war wasn't over. It had only just begun. Because buried in the files was one more name. A man who'd signed every order, every payoff, every hit. He was still out there, and Elara Voss was coming for him. Elara Voss stepped out of the black SUV onto the cracked asphalt of an abandoned airfield, the wind whipping her newly cropped hair across her face. The sun hung low and merciless, turning the horizon into a blade of gold. Lila stood beside her, arms crossed, eyes scanning the empty tarmac. He's late, Elara said. He'll come, Lila replied. Men like him always think they control the clock. A low rumble grew in the distance. A private jet descended, sleek and silver, the Voss crest glinting on its tail. It taxied to a stop, engines whining down to silence. The door unfolded like a predator's jaw. He emerged alone. Reginald Voss, her grandfather. The man who had orchestrated every death, every theft, every lie that had shaped her life. Tall, silver-haired, immaculate in a charcoal suit. His eyes, the same green as hers, locked on her with cold recognition. "Elara," he said, voice smooth as aged whiskey. "You've been busy." She didn't flinch. "So have you. 40 years of corpses. Quite the legacy." Reginald smiled, thin and sharp. "Legacy is survival, child. The weak write poems. The strong write history." Leela shifted beside her, hand near the holster beneath her jacket. Elara lifted a finger. No, this was hers. Reginald descended the steps, shoes clicking. "You flooded the world with my secrets, froze my accounts, turned my name to mud. Impressive, but you're still a Voss. Blood calls to blood. Blood calls to justice," Elara countered. "You killed my mother. My father. You tried to kill me before I could even walk." "Unnecessary pruning," he said. "The family tree was overgrown. Sentimental branches needed cutting." Elara pulled a tablet from her bag. The screen glowed, with live feeds, boardrooms, newsrooms, courtrooms, Voss Global stock plummeting. Arrest warrants scrolling. "Your empire ends today." Reginald's smile didn't waver. "Empires don't end. They evolve. I built contingencies into the DNA of this family. You think you've won because you have files? Files can be burned, witnesses silenced, reputations rebuilt." He reached into his coat. Leela tensed, but he withdrew only a small remote. "Watch," he said and pressed it. Across the airfield, a hangar door rolled open. Inside, rows of servers. Blinking red. A digital countdown appeared on every screen Elara could see. 10 minutes, Reginald said. "That's how long until every piece of evidence you leaked is overwritten. Every offshore account reactivates under new shells. Every witness forgets what they thought they knew. I've been planning this longer than you've been alive." Alara's stomach tightened, but her face stayed stone. "You're bluffing." "Am I?" He gestured to the jet. "Board with me. We'll fly to Geneva. Sign the papers. Take your place as heir. The world forgets. You rule. Simple." Lila whispered, "He's stalling." Elara knew. She also knew the servers weren't the only copy. She'd seeded the data across 1,000 mirrors, dark web government vaults, encrypted clouds. But 10 minutes was enough to muddy the waters, enough for doubt, enough for him to vanish. She stepped forward. One question. Reginald raised an eyebrow. "Why my mother?" Her voice cracked, just once. "She left. She walked away. Why hunt her?" For the first time, something flickered in his eyes. Regret? Calculation? She was going to testify, to the SEC, to Interpol. She had proof I'd killed my own brother, your real grandfather, for control. I couldn't allow it. Elara nodded slowly. "Thank you." She tapped her watch. Across the airfield, drones rose from the grass, silent, black, armed with EMP pulses. They swarmed the hangar. Lights died. Servers fried. The countdown froze at 000912. Reginald's composure cracked. "Impossible." "Contingencies," Elara said. "I learned from the best." Leela drew her weapon, but Elara raised a hand again. "No bullets. Not yet." She walked to Reginald, close enough to smell his cologne. "Cedar and lies. You taught me family is a weapon. Let me show you how sharp I've become." She pressed a small device into his palm. A tracker. Live. Broadcasting to every law enforcement agency on the continent. "You have two choices," she said. "Walk to that car." She pointed to an unmarked sedan pulling up, doors opening to reveal federal agents. "Face trial, tell the world every sin, or run, and spend the rest of your life looking over your shoulder, knowing I'm always one step behind." Reginald stared at the tracker, then at her. "You'd let your own blood rot in a cage. You stopped being blood the day you put a price on my mother's head." Silence stretched. Wind howled. The agents waited. Reginald looked at the jet, his escape, then at the car, his cage. Finally, at Elara. "You're more like me than you know," he said softly. "No," she replied. "I'm what you could never be. Free." He dropped the remote. It shattered on the asphalt. Then he walked, slow, deliberate, to the sedan. The agents cuffed him without a word. The door slammed. The car pulled away. Leela exhaled. "It's over." Elara watched the taillights disappear. "No, it's just beginning." She turned to the horizon. The sun dipped lower, bleeding across the sky. Somewhere out there, the last threads of the Hawthorne-Voss web still twitched. Cousins, partners, silent beneficiaries. She would find them, one by one. Lila lit a cigarette. "What now, boss?" Elara smiled, small, fierce. "Now we rebuild, on our terms. No more secrets, no more blood money. Voss Global becomes something my mother would have been proud of." "And the Hawthorne estate?" "Burn it, salt the earth, let the vines grow wild." They climbed back into the SUV. The airfield faded behind them. The jet left abandoned, the hangar smoldering. Elara rolled down the window. The air tasted clean. She was no longer the betrayed bride. She was the reckoning. And the world would never forget her name. Elara Voss stood on the balcony of the glass-walled penthouse in Zurich, the city lights glittering below, like scattered diamonds on black velvet. 6 months had passed since the airfield. Reginald was in a federal prison in The Hague, his trial a global spectacle. The Hawthorne estate had been razed, nothing left but scorched earth and the twisted skeletons of grapevines. Voss Global was hers now, restructured, transparent, profitable, in ways that didn't require blood. But peace was a lie, she told herself at night. Lila entered without knocking, a tablet in hand. "We have a problem." Elara didn't turn. There's always a problem. "This one's breathing." Lila set the tablet on the railing. A live feed, a dimly lit room, concrete walls, a single chair. A man bound to it, mid-40s, bruised, defiant. Name's Marcus Hale, former Hawthorne CFO, thought he'd vanished after the wedding. Turns out he's been running a shadow network, siphoning what was left, building something new. Elara finally looked. Marcus stared into the camera, eyes cold. "He wants to talk. Only to you." She exhaled through her nose. "Where?" "Old textile mill outside Lyon, neutral ground." "His rules." Elara's fingers tightened on the railing. "He doesn't get to make rules anymore. He says he has the ledger. The real one. Every dirty deal from the past 50 years. Names the public files never touched. Politicians, judges, royalty. If it's real, it could restart the war." Elara closed her eyes. She had burned the past, or so she thought. "Set it up," she said. "I'll go alone." Leela started to protest. Elara cut her off. "Alone." The mill stank of rust and rot. Moonlight filtered through broken skylights, painting the floor in silver shards. Elara walked the center aisle, boots echoing. Marcus sat beneath a single hanging bulb, wrists zip-tied, a smirk playing on bloodied lips. "You came," he said. "I knew you couldn't resist. Where's the ledger?" Her voice was flat steel. Marcus tilted his head. "First, a story. Once upon a time, there was a girl who thought revenge was the end. But revenge is just the door. Power is what's on the other side." He nodded to the shadows. Figures emerged, 6, maybe 7. Armed, silent. Elara didn't flinch. "You're not walking out of here, Marcus." "Maybe not, but neither are you." He leaned forward. The ledger's real, encrypted, on a drive buried with your parents' coffins. I put it there the night they died. Insurance. You want it? Dig them up. Desecrate their graves. Become the monster you hate. Elara's breath caught. The air turned thick. Marcus's smile widened. Or walk away. Let the secrets die. Be the hero the world thinks you are. In parentheses, she stared at him. The gunman waited. Then she laughed. Low, bitter, real. You still don't get it, she said. I stopped being a hero the day you people killed my family. She raised her hand. A red dot appeared on Marcus's forehead. Another on each gunman's chest. Snipers. Her snipers. Marcus's smirk faltered. You said alone. I lied. In that dash, the shots were silent. Bodies dropped like marionettes with cut strings. Marcus slumped forward, a neat hole between his eyes. Elara stepped over the blood, knelt, and pried a key from his pocket. Small, brass, familiar. The same crest as the one from the vault. She stood, burned the mill, scattered the ashes. Lila's voice crackled in her earpiece. Grave? Already arranged. Quiet exhumation. Tonight. The cemetery was silent under a thin fog. Elara watched from the tree line as workers opened the earth. 2 coffins rose, her parents side by side. She felt nothing. Numb was better than pain. The drive was there, taped inside her mother's locket. She cracked it open, inserted the chip into a rugged tablet. Files unfolded. Thousands. Names, dates, payments. A web spanning continents. Centuries. But one file glowed red. Project Phoenix. She opened it. A single line. If you're reading this, the cycle continues. Break it, or become it. Below, coordinates. A bunker in the Alps. A date, 3 days from now. A name, the architect. Elara closed the tablet. Lila approached. What now? Now we end it, Elara said. All of it. She looked at the open graves. Rebury them. With honors. Then we go to war. The Alps were merciless, jagged teeth of stone and ice. The bunker entrance was a rusted door in a cliff face, guarded by men who didn't expect company. They died quickly. Inside, a cathedral of steel and shadow. Servers hummed. Screens flickered with data streams. At the center, a man in a tailored suit back to her. You're early, he said without turning. Voice cultured, ageless. Elara raised her weapon. Turn around. He did. Mid-50s, silver at the temples, eyes like winter. You're not Hawthorne, she said. Nor Voss, he smiled. I'm the beginning. The one who taught Reginald, who taught Vivian before him. Families rise and fall. I remain. The architect. Call me a gardener. I prune. I plant. I harvest. He gestured to the screens. Every empire you burned, I seeded. Every secret you exposed, I buried deeper. You're not the end, Elara. You're the evolution. She fired. The bullet stopped mid-air, suspended in a shimmer of light. Force field. He sighed. Predictable. Alarms blared, door sealed. Gas hissed from vents. Elara stumbled, vision blurring. The architect walked past her, patting her cheek. Sleep, child. When you wake, you'll understand. The cycle isn't broken. It's reborn. Darkness swallowed her. Elara Voss woke to the taste of copper and the hum of machines. Her wrists were bound with soft restraints, her body strapped to a reclining chair that felt more like a throne than a prison. The room was sterile white, curved walls pulsing with faint blue light. No doors, no windows. Only a single holographic display floating before her, cycling through images. Her childhood home burning, her parents' coffins, The Hawthorne estate in flames. Reginald's arrest. Marcus bleeding out in the mill. The architect stood at a console, fingers dancing over invisible keys. He didn't look at her. "Welcome to the cradle," he said, "where empires are born." Elara tested the restraints. They didn't budge. "Let me guess. You're going to brainwash me, turn me into your puppet." He chuckled. "Crude. No, I'm going to show you the truth. Then you'll choose." The display shifted. A new image. Earth from orbit. Continents outlined in crimson threads. Trade routes, money flows, power grids. Every thread pulsed with data. "This is the real world," he said. "Not nations, not families, systems. I designed the first one in 1973. A quiet algorithm in a Swiss bank. It grew, fed on greed, on fear, on love." He glanced at her. "Your love for Julian was just another variable." Elara spat blood. "You used me. I used everyone. But you were special. A catalyst. Your revenge collapsed 3 dynasties in 6 months. That's efficiency." The chair tilted. Needles pricked her arms. Not painful, just cold. Data streamed into her veins. Memories flashed. Her mother singing lullabies. Julian's first kiss. Vivian's smirk. The vault door opening. "You're uploading me," she whispered. "Integrating," he corrected. "You'll see what I see, feel what I feel. Then decide. Join the system, or die in it." The flood came. She saw the birth of shell companies in the Caymans, the assassination of a president in '89, the crash of '08, engineered to consolidate power. Every war, every market crash, every election, his fingerprints. But beneath it, something else. A pattern, a failsafe, a kill switch, hidden in the code. A single line. If catalyst equals Elara Voss, then terminate. She was the weapon and the antidote. The architect leaned close. "You feel it now. The weight, the beauty. You could rule this, not as a bride, not as an heir, as a god." Elara's vision cleared. The restraints loosened, just enough. "You made one mistake," she said. He raised an eyebrow. "You assumed I'd want your throne." She lunged, not with strength, with precision. Her fingers found the console, typed the sequence she'd seen in the data flood. The kill switch activated. The room shuddered. Lights flickered red. The architect's eyes widened. No. The holographic display exploded into static. Every screen in the bunker went black. Alarms screamed. The restraints snapped open. Elara stood. "Your system dies with you." He reached for a hidden panel, a pistol. She was faster, grabbed his wrist, twisted. The gun clattered away. "You can't stop it," he gasped. "It's bigger than both of us." "It was," she said, "until I became the code." She dragged him to the console, forced his hand onto the scanner. Override accepted. The kill switch engaged fully. Across the world, servers went dark. Accounts zeroed. Networks collapsed. Trillions vanished into digital void. The architect's empire, centuries in the making, unraveled in seconds. He sank to his knees. "What have you done?" "Reset the board," Elara said. "No more gardeners. No more gods." She left him there, crawling through dying light. The bunker doors unsealed as power failed. She emerged into snow. The Alps, silent, pristine. Leela waited in a helicopter, rotors thumping. "It's done?" "Everything," Elara said. "The system's gone. The money, the control. All of it." Leela stared. "You just erased half the world's wealth." "No," Elara corrected. "I erased the chains." She climbed aboard. The chopper lifted, the bunker shrinking below. A final explosion. Controlled, clean, swallowed the architect and his cradle. As they flew west, Elara opened a secure channel. A new network. Hers. Built from scratch. Transparent. Decentralized. Unbreakable. She typed a single message, broadcast to every screen still functioning. It is over. A new one begins. The world would wake to chaos, markets in freefall, governments scrambling. But beneath the panic, a seed. Hope. Elara leaned back, closed her eyes. The gown was long gone. The bride was dead. The heiress buried. What remained was something leaner, sharper. A beginning. Elara Voss stood on the deck of a rust-red cargo ship, slicing through the South China Sea. Salt wind tearing at her coat. 1 year since the reset. The world had convulsed. Markets bled. Governments toppled. Billionaires vanished overnight. Chaos birthed opportunity. She had seeded the void with a new currency, Voss coin. Blockchain-backed, anonymous, incorruptible. It wasn't money. It was freedom. Leela handed her a satellite phone. They're ready. Elara pressed it to her ear. A council of 12 voices, former enemies, whistleblowers, coders, orphans of the old system. They called themselves the Circle. Phase 2 begins at dawn, the lead voice said. A woman from Lagos, once a child soldier. We strike the last vaults. Elara nodded. No mercy, no survivors. She ended the call. The ship's hold was packed. Drones, EMP cannons, a team of ghosts who owed her their lives. Their target? The Vault of Eternal Ledger. A floating fortress disguised as an oil platform, 200 miles off Malaysia. Rumor said it held the final backup of the architect's code, the seed that could resurrect the old world. The platform loomed at midnight, a black monolith ringed with searchlights. Elara's team rappelled from stealth choppers. Silent as owls, she led the breach. Inside, corridors of humming servers, guards in exosuits. Her people moved like smoke. Gunfire was brief, surgical. Bodies dropped without alarm. She reached the core, a spherical chamber, walls alive with scrolling data. At the center, a crystalline pillar, the seed. A figure stepped from the shadows, tall, cloaked, face obscured by a porcelain mask painted with the Voss crest. You're late, the figure said. Voice modulated, genderless. Elara raised her rifle. Identify. The mask dissolved into pixels. The face beneath, her own. Older, scarred, eyes hollow. I am you, the doppelganger said. The version that chose power. The architect's final failsafe. He grew me in a lab after you escaped. Fed me your memories, your rage, your genius. Elara's finger tightened on the trigger. You're not me. I'm what you become when mercy dies. The clone smiled, Elara's smile, weaponized. Join me. We finish what he started. Rule the ashes. Elara lowered the rifle. No. She tossed a small orb. It rolled, stopped at the clone's feet. A pulse, white, blinding. The clone screamed as her form glitched, unraveling into code. Elara walked to the pillar. Inserted a drive. Upload began. Virus eternal. The seed corrupted. Data bled. The platform groaned. Alarms wailed. Self-destruct countdown. 000, 5 minutes. Elara ran. Her team extracted via submersible, the platform erupting behind them in a tower of fire that lit the sea crimson. The last ghost of the old world sank into the deep. On the ship's deck, Elara watched the flames die. Leela offered a flask. She drank, burning, clean. It's really over. Leela said. Elara shook her head. It's never over. Just quieter. She opened a new channel. The circle listened. Phase 3, she said. We don't rule. We vanish. Leave the world to rebuild itself. Silence. Then agreement. One by one, the voices signed off. The network dissolved. Voss coin became legend, a tool, not a throne. Elara deleted the last key. The ship sailed into dawn. She was no longer heir, avenger, or architect. She was the tide that washed the shore clean. And somewhere, in a village with no name, a girl would grow up free of chains. The cycle, finally, broken. Elara Voss disappeared the way storms do, suddenly, completely, leaving only the scent of rain on hot pavement. No trace, no farewell. The cargo ship docked in a forgotten port on the Andaman coast, its hold emptied of weapons and ghosts. She walked down the gangplank at sunrise, boots crunching on coral sand, and kept walking until the jungle swallowed her whole. 10 years passed like a held breath. The world healed in crooked ways. Markets reborn from barter and trust. Cities run on solar grids and children's laughter. Voss coin became folklore, whispers in night markets, tattoos on wrists of the free. No one ruled, no one needed to. The circle had scattered to the winds, each member a seed in new soil. Elara built nothing. She wandered. She slept in hammocks strung between banyan trees in Laos, her hair gone silver at the temples. She taught illiterate fishermen to read star charts in the Philippines, trading stories for rice wine. She carried a child with fever across a swollen river in Borneo, the mother's tears soaking her shirt like monsoon. She never gave her name. They called her Auntie Tide, the woman who came with the moon and left with the dawn. One evening, on a volcanic beach in Iceland, steam rising from black sand, she sat carving a flute from driftwood. The northern lights ribboned overhead, green fire, violet ghosts. A girl approached, barefoot, maybe 12, eyes the color of glacier melt. She carried a small wooden box. You drop this, the girl said, in perfect English, though her accent curled like smoke. Elara hadn't dropped anything. She took the box anyway. Inside, a single sapphire earring, the mate to one Vivian had worn the night of the wedding. A note in her mother's handwriting. If the world forgets, remember for them. If you forget, let the sea take it. You were always enough. Elara's throat closed. She hadn't cried in a decade. The girl sat beside her. My grandmother said to find the woman with storm eyes. Said she'd know what this means. Elara turned the earring in firelight. Your grandmother was at a wedding once, long ago. Said the bride saved her life. Elara closed the box. What's your name? Hope. Of course it was. That night, Elara walked to the water's edge. The tide pulled at her ankles, cold and insistent. She opened the box, let the earring fall. It sank without sound, a blue star swallowed by black. She stayed on the beach until dawn, carving the flute. When it was done, she played, a low, wandering tune, minor keys that tasted of salt and smoke. A girl, Hope, danced, barefoot in yash, hair wild with wind. Word spread as it does in small places. By twilight, others came. Fishermen, poets, a blind violinist who'd lost his family in the reset. They brought instruments made of bone and tin, voices rough from sea air. They played. They sang. No leader, no throne. Just sound rising like incense to the stars. Elara played until her fingers bled, until the flute cracked, until the music became the sky. Years later, travelers would speak of a hidden cove where once a year, on the night the auroras burned brightest, a circle of strangers gathered. No names, no pasts, just music that made the heart ache with impossible joy. They said if you listened closely, you could hear a woman's low laugh beneath the melody, like thunder remembering it was once rain. Children grew up believing power was a shared cup, not a crown. The old names, Hawthorne, Voss, Architect, faded into cautionary tales told by firelight. And somewhere, on a cliff above a restless sea, an old woman with storm-gray eyes watched the horizon. She wore no rings, no titles. Her hair was a banner of silver in the wind. She smiled at nothing and everything. The tide came in. The tide went out. The story ended where it began, with a woman, a choice, and the vast, unforgiving mercy of the sea. She was free. They all were. And that was the final revenge.